Welcome everyone. If you recall, we were discussing power cycles. I told that there are certain important power cycles which we like to have a recap, and that will be important to know what is the potential of waste heat recovery from these power cycles, sometimes even what is the potential for energy conservation in these power cycles, and at the same time whether this type of power cycles itself can be used for some sort of a bottoming cycle. So, that the waste heat from a high temperature cycle can be recovered. Either once we have a good idea regarding the power cycle, either we can modify them so that generation of waste heat is minimized, or we can use them where there is available waste heat, we can use them to recover that waste heat. So, in that connection we have started with Rankine cycle. We have seen the basic Rankine cycle, and then we have seen or we have discussed that there will be number of losses in the basic Rankine cycle. So, there should be some sort of an effort to modify the basic Rankine cycle, so that maximum amount of energy we can utilize. In fact, all the power generation units, utility power plants which use steam power cycle, so they do not have the basic Rankine cycle, but they have the Rankine cycle with the modifications we are going to discuss. Out of this, one modification I have already discussed, that is Rankine cycle with reheat option, and today we will continue with that, and in connection with reheat cycle we will also try to see one example. So, that the calculations for Rankine cycle is again you can recall back from your course of thermodynamics, and then we can also see that what advantages we are getting from this. So, if we go to this slide here, this diagram I have drawn in earlier lecture I have drawn this diagram, but here very quickly let us see. This is the boiler. From the boiler high pressure and high temperature steam is coming. The condition is given by state 1. It is entering into a turbine. As the pressure is high, we call it, we differentiate this turbine as high pressure turbine, and in the turbine the steam will expand, and low pressure low temperature steam we will get out of the turbine. We are not sending it back to the condenser, rather we are sending it back at state 2 to the boiler, and in the boiler again it is being heated. This is called reheating process, and in the section of the boiler where this will be done, that is called a reheater. And you see, this is again one can think of as one energy conservation option or energy conservation technique. See, if the boiler the flue gas could have gone with high temperature, once we have reheat we can extract some more energy out of it, and then when the steam is reheated, still its pressure is low because we have not increased the pressure, only we have increased the temperature, and it is going to the second boiler which second turbine, which is called a low pressure turbine. So, in the low pressure turbine it is expanded, and then it is taken to the condenser. Then as usual in the condenser we condense the steam. The condensate or the water that goes to a feed pump, the feed pump raises the pressure to the boiler pressure, and it again goes back to the boiler. So, this I have explained, and with the help of a diagram which is in T s plane. So, this coordinate is s coordinate, and the cycle is shown. So, from 1 to 2, now 1 to 2 is the expansion in the high pressure turbine, 2 to 3 this is heating in the reheater, again in the boiler this reheating process takes place. 3 to 4 this is the expansion of steam in the low pressure turbine, and then 4 to 5 this is heat rejection in the condenser. In the condenser this 4 to 5 that process takes place. And as usual we will assume that the condensate that comes out of the condenser at the saturated liquid condition, and then it is taken to the pump at a low temperature, low pressure, and then the pump raises its pressure up to 0.6, and then in the 6 it goes to the economizer. This part is the economizer part, and then this part is your evaporator part. If you remember the schematic diagram of the boiler I have given at the beginning, and then again it is the superheating part. I have mentioned earlier, but let me again mention it. Generally these two temperatures are kept at the same level, and this temperature, this is the highest temperature of the cycle. This is the temperature at which steam will go to the turbine and pass through the blade passages of the turbine. So, this temperature is generally determined by the material property of the turbine, and so there are research activities going on, so that the turbine blade can withstand higher temperature, so that we can increase the cycle temperature even higher compared to what we use today in a steam power plant. There are also some sort of scheme, so that effective heat transfer takes place from the blades. Now, with this let us go to the next slide. So, next slide we have taken one problem. A power plant operates in an ideal reheat Rankine cycle. Steam enters the high pressure turbine at 15 megapascal, 525 degree Celsius, with a flow rate of 100 kg per second and exits at saturated vapor. The quality of steam at the exit of this second stage turbine is 90% and the condenser pressure is 8 kilopascal. Determine the reheat pressure, the reheat temperature and thermal efficiency. Now, if we have to work out this problem, then obviously steam is the working substance, and we have to take, or we have to know the steam property at different important points of the cycle. Those important points have been marked by number 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, and these properties we get from steam table, or nowadays one can use one engineering equation solver also for solving this problem. Assuming that you are familiar with steam table, I am proceeding with this with the solution of this problem. Now, we have to go back between this slide and the previous slide. We have to switch to and fro between these two slides. You see, if we go to the previous slide, so this is your point 1. So, here the pressure and temperature of this steam is given. So, here we know the pressure and temperature of the steam, and then if we know the pressure and temperature of the steam, then what we can calculate from the steam table, we can calculate its enthalpy, and also we can calculate its entropy. So, both these points we can calculate. So, if we go back to the next slide, what we can find that the given quantities are P 1, T 1 and m dot 1, the mass flow rate that is given. So, from there we can calculate at state point 1 the enthalpy we can calculate. So, enthalpy with which steam is entering the high pressure turbine, that is known now. Now, we go to point 2. Again let us go back to our previous slide. So, point 2 is this point. Point 2 is this point, means point 2 is the point where the steam comes out of the turbine, and if we read the statement of the problem, if we read the statement of the problem, then it is stated that steam enters the high pressure turbine at 15 megapascal 525 degree Celsius with a flow rate of 100 kg per second and exits at saturated vapor. So, this is important, it exits at saturated vapor. So, what we have to do, we go back to the previous slide. So, this process now let us concentrate. So, at this process we know the entropy and we are assuming that this is an ideal expansion through the turbine, which may not be in the actual case, but we are assuming that it is an ideal expansion. So, if this is ideal expansion, then it will be adiabatic, reversible adiabatic or isentropic expansion. So, if it is isentropic expansion, then S1 is equal to S2, and S2 there is another condition given in the statement of the problem. Statement of the problem, it is given that it is in the saturated vapor condition. So, it will be saturated vapor line, it will be on the saturated vapor line. So, you see, for determining state point 2, we have got two conditions. We know the entropy and we know that it is in the saturated vapor condition. So, what we will do? We have got S2 is equal to S1, and then x2 is known, means x2 is equal to 1, that is known. Okay. And then knowing S2, at which condition the saturated vapor will have the same enthalpy as same entropy as S1, that we have to determine from the steam table. If we are using a conventional steam table, then probably some amount of searching and probably some interpolation may be needed depending on the steam table, but we will be able to find out the pressure at which S2 is equal to S1 and the condition is saturated vapor. If we do that, then we will get the pressure, and the pressure is 1.56 megapascal. So, let us go back, let us spend some time on this problem. So, this point was known from the information taking that the expansion line is isentropic and end of expansion is on the saturated vapor line, we got point 2 also. Now, point 2 is also known, pressure is known and it is saturated vapor condition. So, then very easily we can find out the enthalpy at this point. So, H2 is known by this process. So, H2 we have calculated, state 2, the enthalpy is H2, that is 2793 kilojoule per kg, and then we go to state 3. So, state 3 what is known? State 3, you see, state 3 from 2 to 3 we follow this line. What is this line? This is some sort of a constant pressure line. So, once we have known the pressure at 2, so pressure at 3 is also known. Again we are dealing with ideal cycle. So, where we have neglected the pressure drop through the piping etcetera, through the reheater. So, what we have assumed that at what pressure it comes out from the high pressure turbine, the same pressure is maintained, and at state 3, that means at the inlet of the low pressure turbine we are having the identical identical pressure. So, at state 3 what is known? The pressure is known at state 3. Let us go back to the next slide. It goes to this state 3, and what we assume that P2 is equal to P3 is equal to P2, that we assume. Then there is another information given in the problem. The quality of steam at the exit of second stage turbine is 90% and the condenser pressure is 8 kilopascal. So, this is regarding our state 4. So, all the condition of state 3 we cannot calculate right now, we have to go to state 4, but one thing we know regarding state 3 that its pressure is given by 1.56 megapascal. Now, let us move to state 4. So, in state 4, the P4 is given in the problem, that is condenser pressure is 8 kilopascal and X is given. So, if these two things are given, we can calculate the enthalpy. Okay. Following the laws what we or following the rules what we usually take for calculation with steam table. So, we can calculate the enthalpy. Additionally, what we can do, we can calculate the entropy at state 4 also. So, if we have calculated the entropy at state 4, if we go back, then what we can see that this is an isentropic process. So, this entropy S 4 that will be equal to the entropy at state 3. So, state 3 now two conditions are known, we know the pressure, we know the entropy, and obviously, it will be in the superheated region. So, in the superheated region for the steam we know the pressure and we know the entropy. So, obviously, we will be able to this point is now fixed on our thermodynamic plane and we can calculate any other thermodynamic property. So, in 3 you see P 3 is equal to P 2, that is what I have already told, and now the state is known, S 3 is equal to S 4. So, we can calculate what is the temperature 471 degree Celsius. So, you see we have started with 525 degree Celsius, that was the temperature of the steam initially, and this temperature is lower than this 471 degree Celsius. From material point of view, we could have gone up to 525 degree Celsius, but rarely it is taken above 525 or rather the temperature at which steam enters at the first stage of the turbine. So, our condition is fully known. So, with that we can calculate the enthalpy. So, enthalpy at state 3, that is 3409 kilojoule per kg, that is known now. Now, we go to state 5. State 5 is after the condenser, and after the condenser means we know the condenser pressure and at this condition it is saturated liquid. So, we know we can easily and readily determine the enthalpy at this particular point from steam table. So, that is what we have done. At state 5 the pressure is known and the quality is equal to 0. So, we have calculated the enthalpy, which is the enthalpy of the saturated liquid. All right. Then we go to state 6. State 6 is the state point after the pump. So, after the pump what we are getting, this I have already discussed. After the pump, this will be in the liquid condition, but the pressure will be high. So, this is an adiabatic process again or reversible adiabatic process again, or it is an isentropic process, and here we are getting the point in the subcooled liquid region. Here generally properties are not available with conventional steam table. What we can do from the work done, the enthalpy over here plus the work done, that will give the enthalpy at 0.6. So, this is what I have explained in my earlier lecture, and that is what we are going to do. So, P 6 is equal to P 1, that is the boiler pressure, that is known. S 6 is S 5, this is again I have told that it is reversible adiabatic process or isentropic process, or H 6 is equal to H 5, that is the enthalpy of the saturated liquid at the end of the condenser, at the exit of the condenser, plus the pump work. So, for calculating the pump work, we have taken the pressure difference between the boiler and the condenser, and we have multiplied it with the specific volume at 0.5, specific volume of liquid, because it is at liquid condition, saturated liquid condition at 0.5. This is what I have explained earlier also, and with this we will get the enthalpy at 189.0. So, you see in the pump the liquid entered with an enthalpy of 174 kilojoule per kg. It is going out of the pump with 189 kilojoule per kg. So, the difference between these two will give us the pump work, or rather by adding the pump work we have got this change. So, with this, if we proceed towards the next phase of calculation, then we have written different kind of devices here. Device A, turbine. So, in the turbine, the turbine 1, that is the high pressure turbine, and the process is 1 to 2. There is no heat transfer, assuming that it is insulated. We have got this much of work, and then we have got reheater. In the reheater, we have got there is heat addition, and that also we can get from the enthalpy difference. So, in the reheater, from the enthalpy difference from between 0.2 and 3, 1.62 megawatt is the enthalpy difference, that is the amount of heat given. Work done is equal to 0. Then we have gone to the second turbine or turbine, low pressure turbine, and here obviously again it is insulated, no heat transfer, but there is 107.3 megawatt amount of work done. In the condenser there will be heat rejection. So, this is negative, condenser is from 0.4 to 5. So, there will be a heat transfer. If we do H 5 minus H 4, we will get some sort of a negative quantity. So, it is minus 216.3 heat is rejected to the cooling water in the condenser, and obviously work done is equal to 0. Then we go to the pump 5 to 6, again it is a reversible adiabatic device, and heat transfer is equal to 0, and pump is consuming work for pressurizing the liquid, and it is 1.51 minus 1.51, because work is absorbed. Then we go to the boiler, and in the boiler there is heat transfer from 6 to 1. So, this is 319 megawatt amount of heat is added to the boiler. But total amount of heat addition, please pay your attention to this, is this one in the boiler. First, when the steam is heated and taken to the superheated condition for supplying it to the high pressure turbine, and again steam is heated in the reheater. So, total amount of heat addition will be 319 plus 61.62. This is the total amount of heat addition. Total amount of work, that will be the work done by turbine 1 and work done plus the work done by turbine 2. So, 58.53 plus 107.3. Well, with this, let us go to next stage of calculation. So, thermal efficiency will be W net, W dot net divided by Q dot. So, here you see addition of both the turbine work that is given, and here the addition of both the work, sorry, both the heat addition in the boiler and in the reheater. So, that is given, and with that we get an efficiency of 43.17%. Now, let us go back to the first cycle diagram. I like to conclude this lecture, but before that I like to give you some messages which you can take back. First thing is that we have the work output will increase. Efficiency, I have told that efficiency may increase, because the simple reason is that part of the heat addition is at high temperature. This temperature, again we are adding heat at high temperature. So, efficiency may increase, and if it is properly designed, one may expect 3 to 5% increase in efficiency. There could be lesser increase depending on the parameter of the cycle. But one thing you can see, suppose we did not have any reheating, we could have followed this path and we could have come here at the end of our expansion in the turbine, and then the steam would have been in relatively more wet condition, which is detrimental to the turbine. So, one additional benefit we get, that when we are going for reheating, so we get a steam with higher quality, and that is better for the turbine. So, one may ask one question, you may ask this question, that how many reheat we should have? If we have more and more reheat, that is possible, but what happens in that case? First thing is that ultimately we will, the exit point will come out of this two phase dome. So, it will be in the superheated region of the vapor. That is not good, because we have to, then the condenser has to extract heat from the superheated vapor, and that is not good. Second thing, this is one important point, that if we have more and more reheater, then there are extra piping, extra pressure loss, and that may eat away the benefit which we are getting from reheat. So, single reheat is quite common. There are two reheats also, particularly when the boiler pressure is high, we can go for two reheat, and if in case of supercritical boiler, definitely one has to do reheat and one has to go for double reheat. With this, we end our discussion on the modification of Rankine cycle with reheat. We will see another modification of Rankine cycle in the next lecture. Thank you.